Hi there, and welcome back. This is the podcast that must not be named, and I am Melissa.
And I am Luke.
And we are here discussing Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, chapter number 16, Professor Trelawney's Prediction. This chapter was 18 whole pages, front and back, and was 5.83% of the book.
And now, a voice of the Imaginary Legion.
She finally gets one right. Celebration of Gryffindor's win of the Quidditch Cup is short-lived as Hogwarts students are forced to study for end-of-year exams. More evidence of Hermione hiding something is presented when her exam schedule has her taking multiple exams at the same time. The exam week begins with Transfiguration test. The test is turning a teapot into a tortoise, and then the afternoon is a charms test on cheering charms. The next morning, Hagrid presides over the Care of Magical Creatures exam, but was preoccupied about Buckbeak's upcoming appeal. The fact that the executioner was coming to the appeal didn't give Harry high hopes for Buckbeak's chances. The next day, third years had their potions exam, where Harry struggled with a confusing concoction, an astronomy exam, history of magic test, and herbology before their second-to-last exam on Thursday, defense against the dark arts. Harry achieved full marks from Professor Lupin, who created an obstacle course for his test, containing a Grindylow, Redcaps, a Hinky Punk, and a Boggart. Harry and Ron's last exam was divination. When they arrived to the classroom, they learned that Professor Trelawney is seeing every student individually. As students are called one by one, Harry and Ron discuss the professor and whether or not she is a fraud or a real seer. Finally, Ron is called and Harry is the last student in the hallway. When he's finally called, his test is to stare into a crystal ball and tell the professor what he sees. He quickly makes up a vision of Buckbeak flying away. Seeing through this, Professor Trelawney is disappointed and sends Harry away. Before he could leave the classroom, however, Professor Trelawney goes rigid. Her eyes start to roll in the back of her head, and she speaks in a harsh voice, quite unlike her own. It will happen tonight. The Dark Lord lies alone and friendless, abandoned by his followers. His servant has been chained these 12 years. Tonight, before midnight, the servant will break free and set out to rejoin his master. The Dark Lord will rise again, with his servant's aid, greater and more terrible than ever he was. Tonight, before midnight, the servant will set out to rejoin his master. Professor Trelawney then appears to wake up from this state, and has no memory of the event that just happened. Harry rushes back to the common room to tell Ron and Hermione what happened, but before he could, he discovers Buckbeak lost his appeal and was sentenced to execution at sunset. Hermione retrieves the invisibility cloak, and they use it to slip out of the castle and go to Hagrid's cabin. As they discuss the rigged hearing and what options they have for Buckbeak, Hermione finds Scabbers in the cabin. Scabbers looks dreadful, thinner than he ever was. Large tufts of his hair have fallen out, and he writhed in Ron's hands, desperate to free himself. Harry, Ron, and Hermione then sneak out the back door of the cabin as Dumbledore, Fudge, and the executioner approach. They make their way past the chained Buckbeak and towards the castle when Ron stops, struggling to contain Scabbers. From Hagrid's cabin behind him, they hear the unmistakable swish and thud of an axe.
So, Luke, can you tell us about some characters we may or may not have some sort of introduction-ish to?
Yeah. So we had, I'll call it, I guess, more of a run-in than anything. It's kind of a passing by of an ancient-looking wizard who appeared to be withering before their eyes.
Good way to describe old.
Yeah. And there was also a tall and strapping wizard with a thin black mustache who was carrying an axe.
Yeah, an axe. That's quite intimidating.
Yeah, right. Yikes.
Nice. So I see we had some new magicabulary as well, but not any new locations, which is okay. We're getting towards the end of the book here. Some of the magicabulary I noticed was the OWL, the ordinary wizarding levels, and the NEWTs, the nastily exhausting wizarding tests.
Right, yeah, that sounds time-consuming and probably not the most fun of exams.
I'm going to go with overwhelming and depressing.
Yeah, very well stated, I think.
Nice. How about you? Did you see anything else?
Yeah, we had a new book. I believe it was Hermione's arithmancy book
Yes.
called Numerology and Grammatica.
Man, I want to read that book.
Yeah, it sounds good to me, but we're nerds. So,
But unlike Ron, who sarcastically said, I'm going to pick that. Yeah, I picked it up for a bit of light reading, but he said it very quietly, so Hermione couldn't hear.
right. And we also had the confusing concoction.
As in, it causes confusion, or it is confusing to concoct.
Probably both.
Awesome.
So what about this illustration? What do you think of what we got here?
I see a rat.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, really scrawny, and definitely looks thin, kind of being held by the tail. I'd imagine it's Hermione's hand for where this chapter goes. I don't know. It's not a whole lot to say about it, I think.
I would say, as rats go, he looks pretty distraught and skinny.
Yeah. Yep. He looks haggard.
Nice. All right, so let's jump into some of your thoughts.
So whenever, they get the letter from Hagrid basically saying that, the appeal's coming up and, they're bringing the executioner with them. And they basically are like, it sounds like they've already made up their minds, bringing the executioner to the appeal. That's, I don't know. I think Harry kind of gets to the point of he was thinking that the whole committee had their minds made up for him by Lucius Malfoy.
It's really frustrating to me. I wonder, why is the executioner even coming to an appeal in the first place?
Right. Yeah, no, it definitely doesn't seem like he's going to get a fair shake no matter what,
Like, is that even legal in their system? Like, in their legal system, is it okay to bring the executioner to even an appeal? It has to be that quick of a swift justice.
Well, we don't really know anything about the executioner. He could be on the committee. He could be one of the committee members and just also has that duty. We don't,
and so brought his axe.
Yeah, might as well.
Sure. Just in case. Look at me. I'm always prepared.
Saving tax
Boy
dollars.
Scout.
Save a trip, right?
Sure.
Also, kind of towards the beginning of this chapter, we hear that an unnatural hush fell over the school. It's been a while since these kids have had exams, right?
Like 2 years.
Yeah, they didn't have them last year. And,
Nope.
Yeah, so I'd imagine test time, it's kind of new for some of these kids.
Literally.
Right.
2/7 of them.
Right, yeah.
I think that's funny.
When Harry was taking his history of magic exam, and he was going through and trying to answer the, I guess, more of an essay question, and Harry remembers back to the time he spent in Diagon Alley with Florian Fortescue, and he remembered all of as much as he could about what he learned from Florian. What do you think about Harry referencing back to Florian Fortescue teaching him? Sounds like somewhat successfully. That was 8, 9, 10 months ago, and he's retained it decently, and he doesn't give any credit to Professor Binns for teaching him anything. I don't know. It's kind of funny, I think.
Well, so one, that kind of leads me that Harry's a pretty smart kid that remembers things that are taught to him when they are taught well. I fully believe they should hire Florian Fortescue to be the history of magic teacher, and they should sack Professor Binns, who is rubbish. And goes back to my
trash can
curriculum
joke?
oversight.
Is that
what?
Is that a trash can joke? Bins?
Oh, that's funny. Oh man, I wish I could have said I did that on purpose. I did not.
JK
but
did.
True. What?
JK did. That's why he's named that, because he's rubbish.
That's really funny. Maybe. Yep. Nope. I'm a big fan. Good call. Good catch.
I do like. Oh, go for it. Sorry.
No. Go ahead.
I like your idea of having Florian Fortescue come in to be the teacher. That's brilliant. That's a well picked. Maybe he's never applied. They don't know that he has this range of knowledge.
Well, and let's say like everybody who does well in his class, he would give ice cream to.
Right? Yeah.
So extra incentive.
Yeah. Talk about making it one of like the best classes now. I mean, history is awesome already. Add ice cream.
But not taught by Binns.
Right.
I know. History plus ice cream equals amazeballs.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of exams, I have a couple of random exam-y thoughts.
Okay. You would.
I really, honestly, they're not very teachery.
Okay.
They're just thoughts. I really, really, really want to see Harry overdoing the cheering charm on Ron. I want an extra 3 pages on what that was like.
How Harry did it to Ron, right? And Ron
Yes.
had to go sit in like another room for like an hour. That's hysterical.
Like a calming quarter or something.
Right. Yeah. You'd almost think there's like a counter charm to it that they could have just done, but maybe not. Maybe it just is one
It's
of those.
really funny.
That is funny.
It's almost like somebody who's taken one too many happy pills, or you know what I mean? Or like done something not quite legal, and they're just like, I don't know.
They've
man,
been
everything's
slapped
fine,
happy.
it's okay. Yes, very much so. And that it cracks me up. I really would love to see that. The other exam comment I have, and it may sound teachery, but not really. I'm really thankful we got to see Hermione have trouble with something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
With the defense against dark arts exam. And I don't want to be mean and vindictive and say like, oh, good, I'm so glad she's doing badly. But it's nice to see her be human and not perfect and make mistakes. Even on like high stakes things, because nobody is perfect. And even on exams, there's a little bit of wiggle room to make a mistake here and there and still do well. So It was nice to see her do that. Yeah.
And I think it's really funny that whenever they first learned from, the Boggart class with Lupin, Ron was like, what do you think? They were saying, what do you think Hermione's would be? And he was like, Ron was called her out and he said, you getting a homework assignment back that wasn't 100%. And that's almost exactly what her Boggart turned into. It was McGonagall saying that she'd failed all of her exams. I mean, I think it's really funny that Ron was essentially correct, that first chapter with the Boggart.
Chicken and the egg question. Is Hermione's Boggart a failed exam because Ron put that in her brain? Or was Ron just saying what her actual fear is? Asking a different way. If Ron had never said what he assumed her fear would be, would that have still been her fear?
Right. So you're asking if it was kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy type deal.
Yes.
I don't think that she overheard him say that comment earlier. I don't think
I thought it was directly to her. He seemed like a very good teacher, said Hermione approvingly, but I wish I could have had a turn with the Boggart. What would it have been for you? Said Ron, sniggering. A piece of homework that only got 9 out of 10? So yeah, he did.
Yeah, I don't know.
Put that in her head. Or at least he did say it out loud to her. I don't know if it was there or not already. This is my question.
I like the idea, but I think Ron he just knows her pretty well. And everything we've seen from her this year, struggling and being at truly wit's end just because of all of the stress, that would be on her mind, regardless if Ron had mentioned that, even subconsciously. I don't think that he put that idea into her head. I think he accurately called her out on it.
Okay.
That's how I look at it, because that's just fundamentally who she is, I think.
Or at least who she is this year.
Right. Yeah. And I was going to say, specifically this year, it's been charged up quite a bit.
Because I bet her fear's second year would have looked different with all of the attacks from the Chamber of Secrets and all the mudblood issues. Like, I feel like her focus, while still school important, I don't think her 100% of her attention 100% of the time was on school. Whereas in year 3, that's all she cares about. Sure. That is it. That is her entirety.
I think that's reasonable. I think that's fair.
So let's talk about Ron and the Minister of Magic as they run into him that day.
Yeah.
I really like that Ron had enough bravery to stand up to Cornelius Fudge, the Minister of Magic, about Buckbeak.
Yeah,
it was very brave.
Yeah, I liked Ron right there quite a bit. He has put a lot of his heart and soul into, one, making it up for the kind of lack of friendship with Hermione and Hagrid earlier. And 2, he's really poured a lot of effort into, kind of helping Buckbeak to save Buckbeak, because he knows it's unjust what's going on. They're already kind of, frustrated by the goings on with the committee. So Ron could be kind of a hothead. We know he can kind of say things that are on his mind without really thinking about it much. It's kind of, batter up. Here's a thought.
Ron doesn't think first. Surprise.
Exactly. So I think it's good to see that, he doesn't just cower away, and he does, stick his nose in, because he's doing his best to help his friend. I think it's really good of Ron.
Ready for Trelawny?
Oh, I guess. Sure.
I got a slew of Trelawny thoughts, so feel free to jump in with me.
Sure, go for it.
Okay, let's start with them having to go one by one into her room. Is anyone surprised that Harry went last? Of course she saved Harry for last. There's absolutely no other way it would have gone down.
Right. Yeah. For how dramatic it's got to be. Yeah. No, not surprised.
And then the exam itself. So the exam is, please see something in the crystal ball. Except do you notice she doesn't stop blabbing at him? So even if he had any sort of prowess for crystal ball gazing, which I assume he doesn't, but even if he did, he's not going to have any time to clear his thoughts for the mental vibrations because she doesn't stop yammering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she's really trying to, kind of lead the horse. She's really trying to put ideas into his head, which, yeah, if he would just kind of start agreeing with her, I guarantee he's going to get an A. Like, hey, yeah, that is what I'm saying. But obviously, he's got the personal fortitude not to do that, especially for what it was meaning.
Darn integrity.
Right? Yeah. It's... But
How
yeah,
very unslytherin of him.
But yeah, she definitely kept, yammering on, and yeah, how are you supposed to clear your mind and ensnare your senses and all of that? Not very good. One thing that I thought was interesting, while, because Harry and Ron were the last two, right? And
yes.
As, all the other students are leaving, Neville, comes out and basically says that if I tell you, I'm going to have a big accident or something. And so basically he says, she says the crystal balls told her that if I tell you, I'll have a horrible accident, squeaked Neville, and as he clambered back down the ladder toward Harry and Ron, who had now reached the landing. That's convenient, snorted Ron. I'm starting to think Hermione was right about her. He jabbed his thumb toward the trapdoor overhead. She's a right old fraud. I think that's kind of funny of Ron, too. He, this is finally the thing that makes him maybe not quite believe her,
And then we get the big fancy prediction,
right,
which cracks me up. But really, my favorite part is just that she doesn't know that she made a prediction.
Yeah. No, so that's odd, right?
She's special.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that.
She is.
She's special.
Do we want to read the prophecy right now, or you think we're going to come back to it?
Let's come back to it.
Let's come back to it. Okay.
Okay.
So after the divination extravaganza, we then,
that's right.
Head back towards Gryffindor Common Room, where Ron and Hermione let Harry know that the appeal didn't go so well, and they're gonna execute Buckbeak, right?
Ugh.
So that kind of stinks.
I mean, I'm really sad that Hagrid lost. I'm not surprised, but I'm sad. And I go back to, I hate that they just assumed he would lose and brought the executioner. I just can't let go of that one. That bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that the trio wants to go see him and think that's important.
Right. Yeah. And I really like the way that they go through and actually make that happen. Because all of the rules, the strict rules and, curfew basically is all under place, and they don't have the invisibility cloak anymore. It's still down, in the corridor tunnel to Hogsmeade.
I'm going to do an air 5 to Hermione for being bold enough to go get that invisibility cloak. She's not having any of this business. She's like, fine, I'm going to go get it. I'll get it. Where's it at? Tell me how to get there. I got this.
Yeah. I feel like
don't worry, boys.
This is another one of those times where she's like, well, if I get in trouble, it's not going to be a big deal. You guys shouldn't get any more trouble. I think that was book 1 that was a thing. She was like
book 2.
Book 2.
Yeah. With the whole, they flew a car to school.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
If you step a toe out of line, you're expelled. So she's the one who's stealing things from Snape.
Yeah, from Snape. Yeah, that's right.
Brewing illicit potions in bathroom stalls. And
right. It's just funny to see that she's, kind of used to that at this point, I think. Where she's like, plus I'm pretty well regarded as a student. They're going to probably try to keep me here.
Exactly. I got some pull.
Exactly. Yep.
So they go, and guess what? Scabbers isn't dead.
Yeah, what in the world? What? Just living in a milk jug, right?
Oh my gosh! How are you not dead? But he's dead. He died.
He's dead, Jim.
Oh, but apparently not. Is it is he, I don't know, regenerating himself? Was he not really killed? What happened to the blood on the sheets? I'm so confused.
Yeah, this was one of those, the first time I read this, that was huge. You know, like it was just a couple chapters ago that, yeah, wow, okay. It finally happened that, you know, jerk of a cat, you know, killed the rat and what? Like all the evidence was basically there except for the body, which is telling. If you don't see the body, don't count on it.
But the cat should have eaten the body. I mean, it's perfect. It's a perfect alibi. Like, of course there's no body because he was ingested.
That's fair.
Right. I mean, I agree with you. I only have one more comment before we jump into other things.
Sure. Go for it.
Poor Buckbeak.
I know,
That's
right?
why I didn't harp so much on the Scabbers stuff because at the end of the chapter, no more Buckbeak.
Yeah.
It was really sad. I remember reading it the first time being like, oh God, they really killed him.
Yeah. It's, I mean, just hearing the thud, you know, I feel like their hearts drop along with the axe, you know, and it's just, they knew that was going to happen, but until you hear that, you know, conclusive sound, it's not real until that point kind of thing.
I agree with you. And I just remember reading that the first time and just my heart dropped with them.
Yeah, definitely.
So it looks like you have some questions that are the opposite of icy.
That is correct. 5 questions of not ice, but fire.
Ah, yes, like songs.
Question number 1. Should Harry really be worried about going to get the invisibility cloak at this point?
I don't really know. I feel like, I mean, I understand the fear of Snape because Snape is nothing if not good at installing the fear.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of the fear. But I don't know if Snape really knows about the statue. I don't think he does.
Yeah, no, I don't think he saw him climb in or climb out or even knows about the tunnel. I think he just was suspicious and then had this other evidence of, you know, weird stuff going on and found Harry in the same, in Snape's mind, suspicious spot that he and Neville met at. We didn't meet here. We just met here.
Right. Right. I don't know. I mean, better safe than sorry, although that's not usually Harry and Ron and Hermione's motto. But they do have somebody who can go get it without suspicion, so you might as well use your resources.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, to me, again, having a tool like the invisibility cloak is something you should just have with you. Keep it with you. And it shouldn't be on your mind to not go get it. But if you know Snape's in a class and you have like a free period, just go in the middle of the day. Like just swing on by, pick it up between classes. Like I know he doesn't have the map right now either to like kind of give a little extra security in doing that.
Not that he used it to his
again. Should have been using the map, but I don't think it's that big of a deal for if Harry would go back and try to get the map. But again, better safe than sorry.
Invisibility
yeah, sorry, the cloak and Hermione doing it. Cool, I'm good with that.
Right, it's better than it just living down there.
Oh yeah, just forgetting about it.
Right.
Question number 2. Has anyone seen anything in the crystal ball? I mean, these students, did any of them actually see anything?
I believe they predicted fog.
That was in the class.
See?
Yeah.
My guess is Pavarti and Lavender maybe saw like in the billows of fog sort of swirling around, almost like you would see
cloud
shapes and
shapes.
clouds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, like I would assume something like that.
And I think
then
that's
they
pretty
believe it.
reasonable.
Like-
right. If you want to see it, you're probably going to see something.
Right. Like I was driving home today and there were big fluffy clouds in the sky and I looked up like, oh, that one's almost a frog. I can see like the 2 eyes going up here and I can see that. And all of a sudden it was a frog. But when I looked again, I'm like, oh wait, just clouds.
Not much of a frog.
Right. Nope. Just clouds. So I kind of assume crystal ball gazing is like that. If you're willing to so Trelawny calls it the inner eye. I assume it's more like if you are willing, if you will yourself to see the shapes in the swirls,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to see something in the swirls.
And make
If you're
some
looking at it going-
justifications out of it.
Yes.
Mhm.
If you're looking at it going, yeah, that's just a bunch of swirling dust, then you're only going to see swirling dust
Then
or whatever.
Your inner eye is closed.
Right. Either that, it's like those Magic 8 pictures that if you tilt your eyes a certain way, like a sailboat pops out. I can never do those, but I am Hermione, so there is no inner eye here. I assume.
Question 3. Why is Scabbers freaking out?
I don't know, but he's being kind of a jerk. Like, chill out, man.
I think it's reasonable. He's being dragged back to the castle where that good-for-nothing cat has been
Stop
tormenting
blaming the
him.
cat.
Are you kidding me? They literally thought that he murdered him. Like, no. Of course
So
he's
maybe
going to
he
be
was attacked
terrified.
and escaped.
Yeah, of course he's going to be terrified to go back to the castle. Like,
All right.
That's literally the last place he wants to be. He
Because
did
if
his
he
best
wanted to
get
be
away.
there, he would have been there.
Yeah, he's doing his
right.
best to get out of Dodge.
I am going to let you have that one, although I'm going to sit here quietly disagreeing with you in my head. Go on.
Fine, you can be wrong. That's okay. Question
You're right.
4.
You can be.
So what really happened with Scabbers and Crookshanks a few months ago then?
All right. So going with your theory, I'm going to go with there was a scuffle.
Mm-hmm.
There was some sort of face-off with some bloodshed,
Right.
but not necessarily, obviously, anyone dying.
Wasn't a fatal
And
blow.
Scabbers, it wasn't fatal. And Scabbers escaped and mended his wounds in hiding and found a place that was safer.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what it seems like, right? That's what I think
All right.
it is. So question number 5. What does the prediction mean? You know, who is the servant? What chains are being broken? Where is he going? Can you read the prediction out for us?
The Dark Lord lies alone and friendless, abandoned by his followers. His servant has been chained these 12 years. Tonight, before midnight, the servant will break free and set out to rejoin his master. The Dark Lord will rise again with his servant's aid, greater and more terrible than ever he was. Tonight, before midnight, the servant will set out to rejoin his master. Well, it's a dude.
Yes, pronouns are telling.
Yes, his master, he will set out.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a guy.
So who do we know has been in chains or imprisoned lately?
I'm going to go with the second titular character of the book, the prisoner of Azkaban.
Right. Hey,
The
prisoners
former
in the
prisoner.
title. Right, yeah.
The former prisoner of Azkaban, one Sirius Black.
Yeah,
It's got to be him, right?
I think it's about as clear as it can get, right?
Yeah, but what chains are being broken? Because he already broke out.
I wonder if
I get
it could just be, stating that, hey, an escaped prisoner kind of thing. Like it can just go along with it's not like saying, hey, he's breaking the chains tonight, does
yes, it does. It says tonight before midnight, the servant will break free and set out to join his master.
Okay.
So see, it's almost like there's been something keeping him back.
Yeah, we haven't seen him in a little bit, I guess.
But we have seen him try to get into Hogwarts and, go after some of the kids. So I would assume maybe there's something going to happen with him, maybe fulfilling that part of whatever his quest has been. And then he can move on to go find Voldemort and hang out with him and throw a party or something.
So we know he's going after Harry, right? And he wants Harry dead as far as we can tell. And so
He's
maybe
at Hogwarts.
Maybe it's more of an emotional, or mental chains that he's got to break that last thing before he can fully go through and rejoin, I guess, Lord Voldemort.
Isn't there a breakup song that sounds like that? Break these chains or something?
Yeah, yep, there is.
Oh, so we're channeling our inner angsty teenager. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we're going to go hang out with Voldemort and have a Voldy party.
A Voldy party. Woo woo.
Woo! So it sounds like we have some super superlatives. Do you have a favorite line?
Yes, I do. And it basically goes into that scene where Hermione goes to get the invisibility cloak and she comes back and Hermione, I don't know what's gotten into you lately, said Ron astounded. First you hit Malfoy, then you walk out on Professor Trelawney. Hermione looked rather flattered. I just think it's nice, good friendship for these two characters. And, Hermione kicking some butt.
And taking names.
Oh yeah.
Well, and it's nice to see Ron appreciating her for more than just why do you have 3 exams all scheduled for 9 a.m. today? Mm-hmm. And them being friends again, because it's been a rough book for the two of them.
Mm-hmm. And he it seems genuine. He's not just saying this to butter her up. He's really wow, okay, this is cool. You're doing cool stuff. you're cool.
Man, she's a cool girl.
She's
like
a cool
she's
girl.
Yeah.
All right. How about you? Do you have a favorite line?
I do. And it's immediately following the prediction.
Okay.
When Trelawny comes back too, and Harry's like, whoa, you like did a thing. And she's like,
What was that?
And she's like, what are you talking about? And Harry picks his jaw up off the ground as like, you just said a thing about the guy. And so she stops him and she's like, oh, I dozed off. And he's kind of like, no, really, like you said the Dark Lord and you said tonight.
Like,
and you
it
said
was a thing.
So she did all this and she stops him and she goes, I would certainly not presume to protect anything quite as far-fetched as that.
Right. Like, even I have my limits.
Like, I'm going to tell you you're going to die every 3 days, but that? No.
That ain't me.
No.
That ain't me.
It wasn't me.
Right.
It wasn't me. Like
Shaggy.
I just thought it was so funny. First of all, like, how does she not realize that these weird, harsh voice, quite unlike her own, like, I don't know.
Or is she really playing it up to try to get him back in good graces? You know, like trying to pull this as like because the other stuff hasn't worked on him. And
this is true.
So maybe
let's really
she's
freak him out.
Trying to bring him back into the fold by going way over the top. I didn't even realize I made this outlandish prediction. And I'm going to deny it too. I don't know.
Suck him in.
That's right. Just
either that or it's an alternate personality.
Fair enough.
Okay. Who is your chapter MVP?
I thought this was kind of a tough one, honestly. I didn't really think that many people really stood out for the entire chapter. We have so many different scenes. This is definitely one of those chapters. You have a lot of different individual scenes. So those are, I think, tend to be a little bit tougher at times. I am going to give Hermione the chapter MVP. Not for the failing, or not failing, but the not getting 100% on her exam and struggling with that.
Although that doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt for humility's sake.
Right.
But definitely for basically getting to what my favorite line was, she has been doing these really, brave things for her. And it's nice to see her rejoining the trio. And I know it wasn't her choice not to be there, but it's just nice to see that it's kind of come full circle and they can be their power group again. And I think she's kind of the glue on that.
Well, she definitely keeps them grounded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those boys need it for sure.
Man, you got to keep boys in line.
They got to keep her out of the books a little bit too, though. It's a good balance. They help her relax.
I'm not disagreeing that she needs them, but they definitely need her.
Yeah, agreed. So who is going to get your honorable mention?
Well, I agree with you that it was kind of difficult to choose. And then I stopped and I thought, and I said, well, there is a character whose name is in the chapter title. Mm-hmm. And she does kind of something, I'm going to use the word cool.
Sure.
But not in like a, wow, that's amazing and I want to do it, but in like a, oh, that was really different. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go with Professor Trelawny.
I think it's a good
in what
pick.
might be her one and only appearance ever in the MVP section.
So far. A lot of book left.
Okay. I'm just saying. And that was the other reason I picked her. I'm like, yeah, it is unlikely because given her track record so far, unless she completely changes later on, she's not going to get this very often. So I'm going to go good job with a seemingly real prediction-ish, maybe.
Yeah, fair enough.
Done. And that wraps us up for chapter 16.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
We are going to go away now. But when we go away, you will miss us. And because you will miss us, you will find us in a variety of places where you can talk to us, at us, or about us in a lot of different areas. You can talk to us on Twitter at Not Named Podcast. You can send us questions, and we might reply to our email at thepodcastthat@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment on our website at thepodcastthat.com. You can even talk about us on iTunes by subscribing and rating us, and maybe even, this would be fantastic, leaving us a review on iTunes. That would be great.
You can also do those same things on our YouTube page. You can leave comments on the video of this episode as well. A special thanks to our voice from the Imaginary Legion, Brian. You're the man.
Join us next week when we discuss chapter number 17.
Cat, rat, and dog. Stay imaginary.
Thanks.